Aslaug arrives at Ragnar's household disguised as Kraka, yet her story begins generations before either character can be documented. She carries the ancestry of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer and Brynhild into a new heroic family. Her sons then connect that legendary inheritance with names remembered from Viking Age conquest. This elegant design makes Aslaug indispensable to Saga dynasty, but elusive as a historical queen. Title's real subject is how medieval literature created legitimate descent through one extraordinary woman. No contemporary annal, charter, inscription, or coin securely identifies Aslaug as Ragnar's wife. Her complete life survives in texts written centuries after the 9th century setting assigned to her. It directs attention from attempted biography toward genealogy, audience, and literary construction. The Saga of the Völsung supplies the heroic world behind Aslaug's birth. Her parents are Sigurd, killer of the dragon Fafnir, and Brynhild, the formidable woman of legendary tradition. Their tragic cycle belongs to heroic literature rather than contemporary reporting about an identifiable royal family. The Saga of Ragnar Lodbrok then carries that inheritance into another narrative sequence. After her parents' deaths, the child is protected by her foster father, Heimir. He conceals her inside a harp while traveling, a memorable episode shaped for suspense and recognition. The story later leaves her with a poor Norwegian household, where she receives the name Kraka. Her noble identity disappears beneath rough clothing, labor, and social vulnerability. Nothing independently documents this journey, household, or concealment device as historical events. Their importance lies in establishing hidden worth that must eventually reveal itself. Ragnar encounters Kraka and tests her with a famous sequence of paradoxical instructions. She must come neither dressed nor undressed, neither fasting nor fed, and neither alone nor accompanied. Kraka answers through ingenuity, demonstrating the intelligence required of a future saga queen. These riddling conditions are folktale motifs, not courtroom evidence for a royal marriage. They shift the basis of selection from inherited status, which remains hidden, toward demonstrated cleverness. Once Ragnar marries her, concealed ancestry creates tension inside the household. A proposed marriage to a Swedish princess threatens to displace the apparently low-born Kraka. Aslaug responds by revealing her Völsung parentage and predicting a sign in her unborn child. That child is Sigurd Snake in the Eye, whose ocular mark certifies the heroic claim within the narrative. The dynasty, therefore, begins with proof written upon a son's body. The eye motif instead completes a chain linking Brynhild, the elder Sigurd, Aslaug, and Ragnar's descendants. Through Aslaug, unrelated heroic traditions become one family history. Her sons vary among sources, but commonly include Ivar, Bjorn, Hvitserk, and Sigurd. Names resembling several of these figures occur in historical or near-contemporary records. Those records do not identify Aslaug as their mother or confirm the saga sibling group. The difference between name survival and genealogical proof is central. Medieval authors could gather remembered leaders beneath famous parents to produce intelligible dynastic order. Family structure transformed scattered campaigns into the coordinated vengeance of Ragnar's sons. Aslaug made that family grander by contributing a lineage older than Ragnar's own. Her role differs sharply from a passive bridge between male heroes. She recognizes danger, interprets signs, advises action, and guards knowledge of identity. Saga queenship operates through counsel, household authority, fertility, prophecy, and control of genealogy. These functions reveal medieval ideas about elite women more directly than 9th century court practice. They should not be projected unchanged backward into the Viking Age. Archaeology does demonstrate that some Scandinavian women possessed wealth, managed households, traveled, and received elaborate burial. Law codes and later documents also preserve women's roles in property, marriage, and inheritance. Such general evidence makes female political influence plausible without proving Aslaug's existence. No grave can be hers, merely because it contains rich goods or symbols interpreted as magical. Grave furnishings record funerary choices whose relationship to daily identity remains complex. Ancient DNA might establish kinship within a securely excavated cemetery. It could not connect remains to Aslaug without an independently established identification. The strongest evidence for her is therefore literary, and literature can be studied historically. Its surviving form belongs within a 13th-century Icelandic manuscript tradition. Its world was Christian, literate, and deeply interested in pre-Christian heroic ancestry. Audiences knew that descent could authorize status, explain alliances, and connect local families with celebrated pasts. Aslaug's hidden birth dramatizes the recovery of noble identity after social concealment. Her wisdom suggests that inherited excellence appears through conduct before genealogy becomes known. The riddle episode also invites delight, making dynastic legitimacy entertaining rather than bureaucratic. Her prophetic capacities align her with legendary ancestry and distinguish her from ordinary royal spouses. These features tell us why the story worked, not when its earliest components originated. Oral traditions may have preceded surviving manuscripts by many generations. Transmission could preserve names and motifs while altering marriages, parentage, and sequence. We cannot date every narrative element simply by dating the parchment that contains it. Comparing another medieval author reveals how unstable Ragnar's family had become. Saxo Grammaticus produced a Latin history of Denmark in the years around 1200. His Ragnar narrative includes several wives and heroic women, but does not reproduce Aslaug's biography in the Icelandic form. Saxo names Lagertha, Thora, and Suanloga within his different arrangement of Ragnar's relationships. Contrast shows that no single family tree monopolized medieval memory. Authors selected traditions that served distinct literary, regional, and political purposes. If Aslaug were supported by strong contemporary documentation, such divergence would carry less weight. Instead, competing narratives expose the creative work behind Ragnar's household. They also caution against combining every wife from every text into one historical biography. Aslaug's famous dynasty becomes equally unstable when measured child by child. Ivar or Eymar is strongly attested as a 9th-century leader, though his exact identity remains debated. Halfdan appears clearly in English annals and later receives Ragnar as a father. Bjorn's association with the Frankish world draws upon sources whose identification requires caution. Sigurd's snake in the eye remains hardest to match securely with a contemporary individual. Historical existence for some sons does not confirm their shared mother. A later genealogy can contain genuine people while inventing the relationships that organize them. Medieval history writing often sought meaningful ancestry where surviving records were fragmentary. Heroic descent expressed qualities, obligations, and claims that mattered to contemporary audiences. Aslaug offered a uniquely powerful solution because her lineage reached the Völsungs. She could confer ancient prestige without displacing Ragnar as the dynasty's conquering father. Her concealed upbringing also explained why earlier political records might have overlooked her. In narrative terms, absence itself becomes part of the proof. Silence in contemporary sources neither confirms a secret princess nor conclusively disproves every possible model. It simply prevents confidence in the detailed life preserved by later saga authors. The human dimension belongs primarily to the medieval audience encountering the story. Marriage, rank, fosterage, motherhood, and inheritance determined security across many Northern European societies. A heroine whose birth is hidden but eventually recognized gives those pressures a triumphant resolution. Her intelligence lets the audience see status before Ragnar can see it. This is why removing Aslaug would weaken the Saga dynasty, even if every warrior remained. Without her, Ragnar's descendants lose their connection to the Dragon Slayer and Brynhild. They also lose the narrative test that turns an unknown working woman into a queen. What survives securely is therefore not a 9th century royal dossier, but a medieval theory of worthy descent. A contemporary inscription naming Aslaug, Ragnar, and one recognized son would radically alter that judgment. No such object is presently accepted, and no securely identified burial supplies the missing link. Until then, her marriage, journeys, prophecies, and maternity belong to later literary tradition. They remain valuable because they show genealogy being engineered through memory, gender, and heroic symbolism. Aslaug is not documented behind the dynasty like an overlooked queen awaiting rediscovery. She stands within its literary architecture, carrying an older legend into the ancestry of Viking Age names. The famous dynasty owes its coherence to her, even though history cannot yet grant its saga queen a verifiable throne.